Hello everybody and welcome to the What's New in TestRail 6.1 webinar. I am the TestRail Product Manager, Simon Knight, and also with me on the webinar today is Jacob Scott, who will be taking questions in the GoToWebinar control panel during the course of the webinar. And also helping me out if we've got time for a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to be talking about the various improvements that we introduced with the TestRail 6.1 release today. So we're going to cover off all of the main bigger features that we introduced with that release. So the Jira Add-On and integration enhancements, the improvements that we made to our enterprise audit logging, and also the backup controls for enterprise cloud customers, and then some of the other fixes and quality of life improvements that we included with the TestRail 6.1 release also. So we made some enhancements to the Jira add-on itself. We introduced run references in the TestRail user interface and the corresponding TestRail API endpoints. We introduced support for a couple more fields when pushing issues through to Jira from TestRail. And we also introduced the capability to include attachments when creating issues to push into Jira from TestRail. So in TestRail 6.1, we made several changes to the free TestRail for Jira add-on linking of runs from TestRail to your Jira tickets. So what that means is, or one of the things that means is, when you look at a Jira issue with the add-on enabled, then you'll see the new For Runs tab has been added to the Jira issue itself. So when you look at a Jira issue and you've got the TestRail for Jira add-on enabled, you see these tabs, and we've got the new For Runs tab added in there, which when there are runs linked to the issue, you'll see those included in the actual Jira issue itself. This one's empty, but I'll show you what that looks like in a few moments. Also, from inside of your Jira issues, you've got the capability to add runs directly from your Jira issues by clicking on the new Add Run button. And again, that's directly from inside of your Jira issues. So to support the connection of runs to Jira issues from inside of TestRail, we've added a new references field, which you'll be able to see when you're creating or editing a test run. So you can see that highlighted there. And once you've got a run connected, either by using the Add Run button inside of Jira, as I'm demonstrating here, then you'll be able to see the run details directly from within your Jira issue under the For Runs tab. So you can see that creates a reference in the test run itself, and then when you refresh your Jira issue from which you've created that run, assuming that that's the way you do it, then you can see that run now appears under the For Runs tab. And if you've got multiple runs connected, then you can see all of those runs. You just need to expand or contract them as needed. So from inside of TestRail, you'll be able to take advantage of the references field to pull any information from your Jira issue using the normal hover over mechanism. So for experienced users of TestRail, you'll be familiar with the capability to hover over existing defect references inside of tests, as well as the standard sort of references capability that allows you to add references to issues inside of Jira and then hover over those to see the details. And you can do much the same thing inside of your test runs. And here's a quick demonstration of what that looks like end to end. So you can see we've got the runs linked to the test run, and we're doing that just by adding a reference at the point of creating a test run that we want the test run to be associated with. And there's the hover over capability. And if you click on that link, then as you'd expect, it takes you directly into the issue that you're referencing, where you can then view your test runs. Any references that have been added to a run will get returned in the corresponding API endpoints, as I mentioned earlier. So in this case, the get run and get runs API endpoints. And you can pass them in via the associated add run and update run endpoints too, as you'd expect. So if you need to add a reference via the API endpoints, you do that using the references field, which is hidden by my slide pop-up there. Sorry about that. But you can see it's highlighted on the slide there. In addition to the test run referencing capability, we added some further enhancements to the defect push dialog for Jira, adding support for the sprint and epic agile fields, which means you can use those fields to reference sprints and epics when you're pushing issues from TestRail to Jira. Clearly, the project that you're actually pushing those issues to will need to support those fields in the first place, though. I know we've had one or two customers asking about using epic and sprint fields. So just to clarify that, in order to use the sprint field, certainly you need the project that you're actually pushing issues to needs to be set up as a Scrum type of project in Jira in order to utilize the sprint field. And with respect to the epics field, if you're wanting to link your issue to epics, then those epics already need to exist. We also now support the pushing of attachments to Jira when using the push defect dialog. So attachments can be pushed to Jira along with defect or issue details, as you can see being demonstrated here. So I've attached an attachment, and that's just been pushed through to Jira. And I can do that by just dragging and dropping the attachment to the push dialog in the normal attachment fashion. Just to mention that attachments don't get stored in the TestRail test result unless they're added separately. So when you're pushing an attachment as part of the defect sort of push process, you're not going to see that attachment in your test result. You need to do that separately, and we did that intentionally so that your TestRail instance doesn't get unnecessarily cluttered with attachments that you didn't necessarily want in your TestRail instance. So those just get pushed directly through to Jira. And if you do want to include those attachments as part of your test results, and you need to do that separately. And that's consistent with the existing push dialog behavior, where any comments that you make as part of that dialog just get pushed through to Jira. They don't constitute part of your test result. So we're just kind of aligning with the same behavior there. Okay, so those are all the Jira add-on enhancements, and if you've got some questions around those, then we're certainly happy to take those at the end of the webinar. We're going to move on to the audit log enhancements. So as the slide says, this is an enterprise feature, and if you want to take advantage of the TestRail auditing capability, you'll need to upgrade your license to an enterprise license if you haven't already done so. In effect, though, basically what we tried to accomplish with the auditing enhancements in the TestRail 6.1 release was just finish up the auditing capabilities that we didn't quite get around to in the initial 5.7 release of this functionality. So we added a capability to refresh the logs when viewing them on the actual logging tab. We added a project column to make traceability of audit events generally easier. We made it possible to schedule the exporting of audit logs as a background task rather than a foreground task. And we just generally improved the scope of the TestRail auditing to cover a number of other activities in TestRail that weren't covered off in the initial release. And we made a few bug fixes as well. So the refresh button, a small but very useful quality of life improvement for administrators who are already on the log view and just want to see whether there's been any updates since they navigated to that view. And you can see there's a new refresh button there, which looks much as you'd expect it to. We've got the new project column in there as well, so you can more easily see where an entity that's been updated actually resides in the TestRail namespace. And you've got the new scheduled export capability, so that in the event that you want to download your logs, and there's quite a number of them, as there probably will be, you can do that in the background, firing and forgetting it until that export has actually been completed. And there's what it looks like once it has been completed. As I already mentioned, we made a number of improvements generally to the scope of the auditing. So the creation of reports, report scheduling, and any reports that are triggered via the API are now also captured by the audit logging capability. And you can also more easily see what updates are being made in your test runs. So when tests are actually being created as part of a test plan and run generation, when they're being assigned, commented on, or when any other update to your tests, including the addition of defects, etc. And as I alluded to in the previous slide, the audit log better captures what's happening when you're actually creating runs and plans, and which tests are being created as a result. So a wealth of general improvements there. We've also increased the scope of the audit logging quite a bit as well, as you can see from the list, widening the scope of the audit logging to include the creation, updates and deletions of attachments, configurations, defects, custom fields, settings in the administration console, and in the event that the worst happens, the restoration of any backups if you're an enterprise cloud administrator. So while I'm on the subject of enterprise cloud customers, we've expanded upon our backup restoration capability in the TestRail 6.1 release to provide some more flexibility with respect to exactly which backup you'd like to restore. So instead of just being able to restore the latest backup that was taken, you can now select from a range of backups taken by us over the course of the last calendar week, as well as being able to specify your own backup time still. Okay, so those are all the bigger TestRail 6.1 features. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, though, we also made quite a number of fixes, adjustments, and tweaks. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to go into all of them since there was quite a list, but by way of a few edited highlights, as a result of changes back in TestRail 5.7, we were aware of potential issues with how edited test results were being recorded. So we fixed a couple of issues there. So that's been done, and thanks to any customers who reported those issues to us. We were aware that as of TestRail 6.0, as a result of the UI changes and the new style sheets and such like that we'd applied to TestRail, generated reports had grown quite substantially in size, which was a little bit of a problem. So we've fixed that as well. So those reports are now much smaller. We broke the UI slightly in TestRail 6, specifically when deleting sections and test cases while using the fast track view. So that's been fixed as well. And we made a whole bunch of visual improvements. So we fixed modal dialogues so that they can't be scrolled out of the viewport any longer. And we optimized dialogue headers in the new dark and modern themes, especially for error dialogues, which were causing a few issues. We fixed the margins and paddings for various views in all of the new themes. We fixed views where our designer forgot some of the adaptions for the dark theme. We set report backgrounds to white so that when you're printing off your reports, they look better instead of having the theme backgrounds, which were applied as of 6.0. The filter reset icon is now always visible, even on longer filter collections, which is quite helpful for those. We rounded up all the corners for various elements so that they looked prettier. Theme information has also been added to the body tag, which is helpful if you're using custom UI scripts to target specific themes. And there were some other improvements in there as well. We also changed the password field attribute to prevent autocomplete on the user settings page by popular request. We aligned the add plan entry and update plan entry endpoint behavior so that both of those endpoints behave in a more consistent fashion. So hopefully that's helpful. And we made sure that user IDs were returned when using the attachment endpoints. So quite a bit of stuff in there in terms of fixes and general sort of tweaks and adjustments. And finally, with a view towards making life just a little easier in respect of adding test cases, we've given you the capability to add test cases directly from the project overview page. Just to kind of speed things up for you a little bit there. And finally, we added our logo to the banner area, which probably seems a little bit self-serving, but what it means is, with the help of a custom script which we've provided for you in the forum, you can modify the logo, the TestRail logo, to the logo for your own company if you wish, or whatever else you want to put in there. So if you want to take a look at that custom script, you can go and find that in the forum. So you're welcome for all of those. And with that, I think we'll take a few questions and try to supply you with some answers. Jacob, how are we doing on the questions front?
So we haven't gotten too many here, but I'll find some of the ones. I've answered most of the ones that have come in here, but let's see if we can find a couple that might be good for the general group here. Let's see. All right, so we did have a question. Is there any option available where I can add test runs under test plans, and those test runs can be mapped to a Jira ticket? So currently, you can't map test runs inside of a test plan or full test plans to Jira. There's no references field within test plans, but that is something that we are looking into for an upcoming update. Can't give any go ahead, Simon.
Sorry, we'd expect that to be available sort of fairly early next year, kind of springtime. We should have that functionality ready for you.
Awesome. So another question we got about that references field on test runs. Is the references field on the test run generic or only specific to Jira? Saying, could I use it for a test run wide like version input? So that field is, it's just like the references field that you would put on a test case, or that would be included in a test case, in that it will be used for any integration that you've got configured. So it doesn't have to be with Jira. The reason we use Jira as an example is because it also has that TestRail for Jira add-on that allows you to kind of put and kind of display that content on the Jira end. But any other tools that you're integrated with, you can add those references using that references field on test runs. If you don't have any integrations configured, then I believe it just kind of acts like a string field. So you could still enter content from other, any kind of content that you want inside that field. But it does work best, and it's kind of intended to be used as kind of an extension of the integrations. Let's see, we do have a question about the audit logging. Are changes to the name and description fields of the section level also included in the history and auditing functionality?
I am not sure. I would need to check that.
Don't know if it records. I don't think it does the descriptions. At least it might record name changes, but that I'd have to check.
Yeah, I think they are, but feel free to send us an email around that, and we can respond on that. Because without sort of double checking that, I don't know whether those are or not. Cool. I don't know whether those things are called out as specific auditing lines or whether they're just included as an update to the section. So I'd need to double check that.
Okay. All right, so we did just get another one. I'm extremely new to TestRail and QA. Is there a sandbox area I can learn the basics of how this program works? So Christopher, I'd recommend jumping into, you can set up a free trial and just kind of give that a shot on your own. You know, if your company already has either their trial or a paid instance, then they can, you know, then you can set up your own personal trial as well, and also kind of get the hang of how things work and kind of test it out. I would also recommend once a month. We actually did it last week, but every month we do have a starting to test with TestRail webinar that is kind of similar to what we went over here, but it's really just going over the basics of how TestRail works and what kind of entities there are, and kind of gives a breakdown of everything along with a kind of more extended Q&A. So I'd definitely recommend checking that out. You can register for all upcoming webinars at our on our website at guroc.com/testrail/webinars. Yeah, so I definitely recommend checking that out, and really just, you know, start your own trial. You can set up a cloud trial. It takes, you know, 5 minutes, and then you can just jump in and start playing around with adding your own data and figuring out kind of how the system works. We do have a lot of extra documentation too, and our tech support team is always available via email, so you can email us at contact@guroc.com, and we'll be happy to help out with any questions, any getting started information, or anything that you're looking for. Let's see, we did get another question here. Will you be looking at the report feature to make it easier to customize reports?
We will be looking at that. We don't have a planned reporting release at the moment, though. So yes, it is something that we're looking at improving. Improving the reporting capability to make it easier to customize reports is certainly on the radar, but we don't have a release date for that functionality yet.
Okay. Let's see. I think that's pretty much all of the questions that I'm seeing that we'd kind of want to broadcast here. Yeah, not getting too much more here, so I think we might call it a little bit early at this point. So for anybody that does have any remaining questions, again, please reach out to the support team. We're at contact@guroc.com, and we'll be happy to help out with any other questions, either about 6.1 or any other, you know, just usage or issues that you might have with TestRail currently. Any feedback that you have also would be very helpful in planning for upcoming versions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jacob. If you haven't tried out TestRail yet, please go and do so. You can follow the link down here to go and sign up for a free trial and have a play around with some of the new features and functionality yourselves. As Jacob mentioned, if you do have any questions or issues, please do feel free to send us an email on contact@guroc.com. But otherwise, thank you very much, everybody, for joining the webinar today. Please do go and check out our webinars link on the main site to stay up to date on all of the webinars that we've got coming up. And I look forward to seeing you again on our next one. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jacob, and see you all soon.